Hi everyone, this is Margaret Hirsch. You're on the Move with Hirsch's, and here I am in a fabulous resort with my niece, Samantha, who's going to be my guest today. Now, just remember, this is a podcast that is to inspire other women to do unusual things. And I'm doing unusual things today with my hair sopping wet in this video. So I'm talking to Samantha, who was born in South Africa, went overseas to school and to university, and there she met her husband, who was Japanese, and decided to go and live in Japan. So Samantha, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you on the show today. And tell us about when you were at university, you met Dewey, you knew he was the man for you, and you decided to go to Japan. How was that?
Okay, so I'm going to have to take you a few years back. So I finished school and then I traveled.
Yes.
I traveled to Thailand, Nepal, India.
Yeah.
And I was in India. Have you ever been to India?
Yes.
Have you been to Delhi?
Yes.
In August?
Not in August.
Okay, it's really hot. Anyhow, I'm sitting there in the heat of August and I'm sweaty. I meet this guy who was with me.
Yeah.
I knew him and he tells me about Japan. He had just come back from Japan and he describes these spotless streets and these clean toilets.
Yes.
And I hear that and I say, that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
So I go with my friend to Japan.
Yeah.
And at that time it was 1991 and we worked just,
Yes.
on the odds, and we could make a fortune of money because Japan was in a bubble.
Yeah.
And I worked for 4 months and I actually managed to save for university.
Oh,
So
wow.
I go back and I decide I'm going to take a Japanese course. I'll come, it's January,
Yeah.
and I'm going to start university in October. And I say, okay, I'm going to use this time
Yeah.
for learning Japanese because I just fallen in love with the people. The
Oh,
people were
wow.
so kind, and so honest and so different to anything I had met before. And who does this Japanese guy meet at the Japanese lesson?
But you.
Myself. And we hit it off. I mean, truth be told, it wasn't love at first sight.
Yeah.
He hadn't shaved for a few days, and I don't know if you
my
noticed,
God.
Japanese are not so hairy. So one here, one there, one hair here. But he was wearing this kind of pink top, which didn't look really well on him. But he was really kind and nice, and we had a nice conversation. We planned to meet, and then he comes and he's shaved.
Oh.
And he's wearing a white shirt.
Yeah, it looks
and
much
that was
better.
it. We fall in love, madly in love, and then he has to go back to Japan, and I miss him terribly. So then I join him, and I come for 4 months to Japan. And then I start university, and he joins me for 2 weeks, but then he goes back, and that's it as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
I next had a Greek boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then I had a religious boyfriend, which as far as my family was concerned, that was the most extreme I could choose.
Yeah.
But every holiday, a Japanese boy would come back in.
Yeah.
So then after 3 years of university, when I graduated, and I didn't know what I want to do, I phoned Japan and I said, what's going on? He says, I'm waiting for you.
Oh, wow.
So I came.
Yes.
So that is our very romantic love story.
So just tell us a bit about when you got to Japan. You could speak a little bit of the language, but you couldn't converse in it.
No, I couldn't
How
speak.
difficult was it, and how did you make friends?
No, that's a good question. And I always say the lucky thing is that I'm a very positive person.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing. I could hardly speak the language, and the culture, the Japanese culture, is so very different.
Yes.
But I didn't understand how different it was, and I was making tons of mistakes. But the Japanese, being so polite, never made me feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And it took me years to understand. Oh my God, I kind of like broke every single rule in the
Oh,
book. But by the time I learned it, I was already past
And
that
a lot
stage.
of those customs and things, when you go to a strange country, you can't read in a book, and nobody will tell you that it's not polite to do this or it's not polite to
Especially
do
not
that.
the Japanese people who consider, respect for the other person more important than following the rules. So they will never, correct you.
Yes.
So you don't know you're making a mistake. And my husband was also very protective of me, so he never let me feel.
Yes.
But like when I met him for the first time with his friends, they had like a barbecue. I was invited, and I had a cold. I had a terrible cold, and I was like blowing my nose the whole time, But I was very, my bubbly self. And then years later, I learned it is so rude to blow your nose in public.
Oh, really?
And that was the first time for his friends to meet me, blowing my nose with this horrible sound. It's like, oh my God.
So when you get to a strange country, to a person who's going to a country that they haven't been for, how do you, today you can probably research online, which we couldn't do in those days, but how important is it to actually get those customs right and also to tell us how you made friends in a foreign
Right,
country
right,
like that,
right.
where you couldn't really converse with anyone.
Yeah. First of all, maybe I was lucky, maybe not, but I got pregnant very soon.
Yeah.
And once you become a mom, that's
Yeah.
one
Oh,
way to
yes.
really get to know people.
Yeah.
And again, Japanese are really polite and
Yes.
kind, and
Yeah.
everybody always made me feel very welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me years again to understand how many things I didn't understand. But my outlook is
Yeah.
always to analyze things in a positive way. And it was, looking back, it was really difficult,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel the difficulty at the time because I
Yes.
didn't understand
And you
how
were
difficult
young
it
and
was.
in love and had a baby.
Exactly, I had the
and
baby. And, in Japan, usually women stay home after birth.
Yeah.
And that was something I was damned not to do. You know,
Yeah,
I was teaching English for 1 year before my baby was born. And I said, okay, I'm going to the school when I was about to give birth. And I said, okay, I'm going to give birth, but I'm going to be back as soon as the baby's born.
Yeah.
And then the lady looked at me and said, don't you want to stay home
Yeah.
with the baby? And I looked at her and I said, what? I'm not going to be Japanese. And then my baby's born. And my husband looks at me and says, don't you want to stay with him? And then I looked at him and said, can I? Is that allowed? And I got a gift. I felt I received a gift.
Yes.
And from that day, for 11 years, I chose to stay home.
Yeah.
And I had 4 more kids, 3 more kids,
Yes.
4 in total.
Yeah.
And it was just one of the biggest gifts.
Yeah.
And again, like living in this, like another story is that as soon as he was born, my baby, my first son, we got like a cot.
Mm-hmm.
And we put it in the different room, so there's the parents' room and then there's the baby's room. And then at night I put him in the cot and then I went back to sleep and then I had to feed him. So I went back and forth. And then at some stage my husband said, don't you just want to come and put him in between us on the futon? We're sleeping on the bed. And I said, is that allowed? He said, well, that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
I said, okay. And I put him next to us. And from that night, I slept.
Yes.
I slept
wow.
all the years. And it was like so much easier for me to sleep with my babies.
Yeah.
And every baby that came, we just get a new futon. So then we had at some stage, we had like 6 futons.
Oh
We were all
my
sleeping
gosh.
together.
Yeah.
And it just made so much sense to me. So in a way, I think one of the good points is that I was very accepting of the culture.
Yes.
And I found
And putting
so
the
many
baby in the
benefits.
bed and just
No,
carrying on.
and then I can't sleep all night. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'd rather sleep. Right.
Yeah. And then tell us about, so your first baby you had in a hospital, but after that you thought, no, you're not going to do this.
So my first baby was born cesarean. It was like 38 weeks, and he just, I just had to have a cesarean. And then the second one, I said, I'm not going to do that again. I have to have a natural birth because my mom always raised me with the story of how easily I just came out. I just jumped out, and I was there. And it's like, that's what I wanted to experience.
Yeah.
So when I got pregnant again, I went to the doctor and I said, okay, I want to have a natural birth.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, you had a cesarean, you're going to have another cesarean. And I was like, no. And I was fighting. And then the doctor just put it as, okay, she's foreign and foreigners think differently.
Yes.
So he was like open to the idea, but he said there's very, very slim chances you're going to have a natural birth.
Yeah.
And then luckily I started having contractions.
Yeah.
It was holiday and the doctor wasn't working. So I go to the hospital and then, nobody was talking to me and I was just walking like for 36 hours.
Oh my
And
gosh.
finally, the midwife, I had my birth. And then, when the doctor came a few days later, he said, you were lucky that I wasn't here because if I was here, you would have a cesarean. But having had her naturally, my second daughter, it was such an experience. And I thought, I think I could do it again. And probably I don't even need the hospital setting.
Oh my gosh.
So when the third child came, I decided to have my baby at home.
Oh my heavens.
And then I had come across this concept of unassisted birth, which means there's no midwife, no doctor. You just have your baby with your family.
Yeah.
And I thought that makes a lot of sense to me.
Oh my head.
And
Makes
like nobody
sense to
was
me.
supporting me. Nobody agreed with me, including my husband. But that's what I wanted.
Yes.
And I kind of fought for it.
Yes.
And then I had my baby in the bath.
At the bar.
In the bath
yes.
with my husband there.
Yes.
My mom was looking after my second daughter. My elder one went to school. And that was just so perfect that I had to do it again with my fourth child.
Oh, wow. So having had the 4 children, I mean, in Japan, people have one baby. And
1.3.
Oh, really? And my gosh. And so what did they say when you kept having these babies and going to school with another child and another child? Oh, you again.
I was really fortunate to be a foreigner.
Yes.
Because being a foreigner, I didn't ever have
could
to
get away with
really,
it.
yeah, I was living within the Japanese community, and I
Yes.
didn't know any other foreigners.
Yes.
But being a foreigner gave me, we call it foreigner in Japanese, a gaikokujin, a gaijin, and we call it a gaijin card. So I got like these exit because
Oh, so
I
you
could
could
always
get away with it.
exactly whenever I was doing it was because I'm foreigner.
Okay.
But I think in Japan, moms are looked up at because we usually, once you become a mom, you are a mom. You don't work, you don't do extra because being a mom is
It's
your
a full-time
duty.
job.
And I was doing it with 4 kids, so I became like the queen of Japan.
Oh.
So to speak. I got a lot of respect, but and I loved the Japanese mothering because I chose it. I said sleeping with my kids, giving birth naturally, and then also staying at home for 3 to 4 years before I put the children into school. There were so many things about the Japanese system that really appealed to me, and I chose it. And I think also thinking back, I'm really happy about my mothering years. I mean, which haven't ended, but like you kind of continue.
But you really you immersed yourself in being a
Exactly.
mother.
I became like very much a mom. And I mean, I'll tell you a funny story that we don't have a car. We live, maybe I don't know if this is something, but we were living in we still live in a very, very small apartment house, the size of an apartment. I don't know if this can translate. I don't know, do you speak about square meters or square?
You can do the.
So square meters, it's like 64 square meters, which I think it's like
tiny.
Yeah, it's very, very small. Again, you sleep together with your kids.
Yes.
On
the floor.
On the floor, and then you fold.
And it's one room. You just got
and
a
it's a mattress.
Yes,
and it's a mattress which you fold and then put into a cupboard, and then that becomes your living room.
Yes.
And then we've got to put a table down, and the kids can do their homework, and then when we want to eat, it also becomes the dining room. So it's a multi-purpose room. But it works so well, and I really enjoyed that lifestyle. So for me, raising kids in Japan, being a mom in Japan was just, I just found my calling.
Oh, that's so incredible.
And then we didn't have a car. Of course, we still don't have a car. So everybody has a bicycle. But when the kids were young, I used to take the kids to kindy. So then I actually have a very famous picture of me taking like my daughter sitting at the back, and then my little boy sitting in the front, and then my baby on my back. So it's like
really?
4 people on one bicycle.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and it just works. So we kind of think we're progressing, and progress is so good. But if you go back, the basics, they work, and they're there for a reason. So
absolutely incredible. So now tell us, you looked so different. I mean, you've got the curly hair. You were bigger than the Japanese. How did they accept you? Were you sort of they embraced you, obviously, but how did you feel? What was your feeling with that?
It's funny because living in a Japanese community, at some stage I felt Japanese. When I used to see a foreigner walking by, I would like stare, oh, there's a foreigner. And then sometimes I look in the mirror and say, oh, I'm a foreigner too, because I was so used to it. But obviously I could never hide my foreign. And I think that especially for my kids, and my eldest one especially, it was very difficult because it made him different. And in Japan you want to become part of, harmony is one of the top values, and you want to be part of the group. And I was making my child different, and at some stage, he said to me, Mommy, please don't come to school events.
Oh,
please.
really?
Yeah, because anything that made him stick out made him feel uncomfortable. And I always loved being different because again it gave me the license to do what I want.
Absolutely.
And my husband always said, don't learn the language, don't speak Japanese, because he was afraid if I speak Japanese then the community is going to expect me to behave like a Japanese, and speaking English or will kind of, I don't think that I could ever be mistaken for a Japanese. But I think ultimately it was an advantage for me. And I, to this day, 30 years later, that I'm still living there, I know that, living in Japan is probably one of the best places to live. Being Japanese is one of the most difficult things to do. So I get the best of worlds.
So tell me about the language now, because the language is so difficult. The writing is difficult. You're teaching English. and you obviously had to speak Japanese. So your husband said you don't speak Japanese, but you had to because you had to. I mean, going to the store or going to the hairdresser or whatever.
Now you learn the language, and I always thought that once the kids come, I would also learn to read and write, because that's a problem. More than speaking the language, 3 types of writing in Japan, and one of them is like thousands of Chinese characters.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, I don't have to work too hard. Once the kids start learning, I will learn with them.
Yeah.
You know, the kids were up there, and I was left with nothing. I can speak the language fairly well. Could probably do better, but I can't read and write. That limits you. But again, you know, me being positive, that meant that my husband had to be involved, and he took care of anything to do with school, because helping with the kids, you know, because I couldn't read the letters from school, I couldn't correspond, I couldn't help them with the homework. But I think, you know, they gained from it a daddy that was there, which is not Japanese at all. Japanese fathers are usually are part of, you know, not part of the daily life. They are working, the moms look after the kids, and then you have weekend daddies. But my husband had to be there, having the great mom that I am, and then having an involved daddy, which is something that I think most Japanese kids don't have.
Wow.
So that's my positive way of looking at not necessarily what my kids would say.
Yes.
Maybe you should interview them and find a different story being told.
So now tell us about making friends. Did you have international friends, or did you try and mix with Japanese? Because you could speak to the women, but you know, could you converse with them? Because that's quite important.
So the point is that because I was living in a Japanese community, and my kids were going to the Japanese schools, then my friends were Japanese. But because I don't really speak the language, and when I say language, it's not just the language, it's also the cultural language. I never became part of the real friendships.
Okay.
Because I couldn't understand, you know, the unspoken language.
Yes.
And they were Japanese, again, being so polite and kind, never let me feel anything but welcome.
Yes.
But they couldn't really converse with me, you know. I was fortunate to meet 8 years after, you know, living in Japan. I made friends with a woman who was in the same situation as me, married to a Japanese man, and then she became like my bestie. And then every single day I spoke to her, and that helped me so much going through those years of early motherhood and, you know, being married to a foreigner, living in a foreign land. But I do love my Japanese friends. A foreign friend actually lets them, you know, share more with me than they would with their Japanese friends, because you know, again, there's all these rules, and I'm breaking every single rule. So then I had like a few women come up to me and open up their heart about you know, their problems with their husband and their child, blah, 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 because they knew that I'm not going to be in the same judging, or you know, they just, I'm so different. So, you know, that gave them, and this is something I've heard from other foreigners as well, that often the Japanese will actually open up in a way that they don't open in Japan, and also allow themselves to be a bit ruder. Which is kind of surprising, because, you know, the Japanese, you know, again, they have the same kind of language and the harmony, and then we come with our very different culture and different way of thinking, and then sometimes that creates, you know, an interesting interaction, which can be very open, and sometimes it can be very, you know, like much more direct, which is so not Japanese.
And then just tell us about having the children in the school and mixing with the school and going to the school. How involved were you in that?
So again, being a stay-at-home mom, in a Japanese society where moms are part of the community, it's like you have to be part of school life. So like they have every year, they have what's called a volunteer.
Yes.
And you have to volunteer to be in the PTA or whatever committee it is. And then through that, I had to do it like with each child. I have 6 years of elementary school, so I had to do each child. I had to do one of the years be in this one of these committees, and then junior high school, same thing. At first, I was like dreading it. Because, you know, I don't speak the language well. I know I'm going to mess. I'm not. But then actually I realized in Japan, and this is something completely different, but in Japan, being part of this committee, it's not so much about what the project we have to do, be it a sports day that we have to organize an event. It's the moms getting to know other moms. spending 5 meetings on something that can be resolved within half an hour. But then after having these 5 meetings, we obviously have to go and celebrate our great success of the event by drinking.
Oh,
and that's how you make friendships.
Okay.
And then I learned, to really appreciate this different way of friendships.
Yes.
One thing which was very difficult to me was that friendships in Japan are very what's the word? Like if I'm now our 2 kids are in the same classroom, the moms, let's become friends. Okay. But then the kids go to different schools, and then we don't have anything in common anymore.
Yeah,
and the relationship breaks up, and it's like, what? Why? I was committed to this relationship, and then suddenly, But But when we were in the same year, then we go out for lunches and we go to meetings. So I understood that that's how it works. Yeah. And in a way, I also became Japanese because then, once my kids finished university, I don't speak to my friends anymore. So there are very few Japanese friends who I've kept in touch with throughout the years.
All those years.
But that's okay.
You started your business now. You decided, well, my kids are getting bigger. I'm going to start a business teaching English. How did that come about?
So the teaching English was when my youngest started school.
Yeah.
And then, after having been a full-time mom, I said, okay, I can make some money. And then I opened a small school at home.
Yes.
And the kids used to come after school to the home, and I would teach them English,
Yeah.
And that was fun, and I did it for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I had at some stage hundreds of kids coming.
Oh, wow! And it's such a small room, and then the 4 kids.
No, but there was only 8 each time. It was 8, but 1 year I had more than 100 students, and crazy.
Gosh,
But then, and that was another way to meet moms and to make contacts. But then COVID came.
Yes.
And I had to close my school because nobody can come into the house.
And now 6 of you are stuck in one tiny room.
Yeah, I know. That's another story to be told. But then I stopped teaching and I started climbing mountains. I spent a year climbing mountains in Japan, literally,
Okay.
And when I came off the mountains and COVID finished, that's when I decided to go into guiding, which is what I do now.
Yes.
And that I've been doing for 4 years.
So that was just starting a whole new business.
I know. And that has been the best thing I've done this far.
Really?
But I'm sure good things are waiting for me in the future. But
That's absolutely incredible. And tell us a bit about the food now, because you're a bit of a foodie. You were brought up with sort of Mediterranean food and that type of thing. And now you get to Japan and the food is completely different. And I know I trained in Japan. And I honestly did not eat for 3 weeks because I didn't like the food. I'm a vegan, so I couldn't eat all the fish and the octopus and that type of stuff. So I really struggled. And then when I did that, which was way back in 1982, you couldn't buy chips, you couldn't buy biscuits. Literally, there was nothing for me to eat. So how did you manage?
So for me, when I came to Japan, I didn't eat fish at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, we always laugh that it took me 10 years before I started eating sushi.
Oh, really?
And now I love it. And it took me another 10 years, which is 20 years in Japan, before I started eating curry. They have this special curry rice. Yeah. And now I love it.
Oh, wow.
And wait, there's the third one. I can't remember what the third thing. It's like, everything takes me forever. Yeah. But once I start eating, so it's, I get to places. But at first, I was impossible. Yeah, I couldn't eat anything. And one of the great things about Japanese education is the kids are taught to eat anything and everything you're given. The mom is there 3-4 years with the child, feeding 3 meals a day. There's no pickiness. And, I just wrote about a post the other day that I think that the education to eating in Japan is so good, and the Japanese people will eat everything. Yeah. And I understand that being picky is one of my problems. I still don't eat tomatoes. I still don't eat many things. But having, opening up, that was one thing another thing that I had to learn about myself in Japan.
And did you have to learn to cook all that stuff? You don't really know. You're not taught at home how to make sushi, so you had to.
Sushi is easy, but no, actually, I did learn to cook the Japanese food.
Yes.
But I did very basic cooking, so I have rice. And miso soup, and put a fish in the grill and have a salad. And that was the meals most of the time. But because the Japanese way is very different, because you cook on a daily basis.
Yeah, and you buy fresh.
You buy fresh. The freezer spot in the supermarket is very limited because they don't stack the freezer and then cook, once a week, batch. every single day, being the housewife that I was, I used to go to the supermarket, buy enough to feed, and then cook. And the Japanese will come like a small tray like this of chicken will feed 6 people.
Oh my gosh!
Okay, now
this a little bit.
Well, it's not that they eat a little bit. What you want to do is to eat many different dishes, but you have a tiny bit of everything. So a bit of chicken, a bit of pickles, a bit of salad, a bit of rice, miso soup, and maybe some meat. You know, something like and that I can't say I mastered, but I really. I think it's really great.
So now, tell us a bit about your weight loss journey. Which was all this eating, you still managed to put on weight over the years, and you suddenly one day you decided this is it. I don't want to be the size anymore because I mean, especially compared to the Japanese people who are so small.
Yeah. So I was always a heavy girl, and I must say that it was never an issue for me.
Yeah.
I never had a problem with myself. I was a very, very happy, heavy girl. But then when I reached the age of 50, I started really limiting my movement. I got a back pain for 10 days. I couldn't move. And then I go to the doctor, and the doctor said, you've got to lose weight. Now, I had never in my life dieted.
Yeah, oh,
so
really?
I didn't know, okay, so what do I do? So he says, well, you could start by dieting and doing some exercise. And it's like, okay. And I joined this gym with the personal trainer, and then he just said to me, you know, cut the carbs out. Like, it was so easy. Within 1 year, I lost like 50 kilos.
Oh my gosh!
Now,
you say it's easy, but so I can't even lose 1 kilo. It's difficult
because you don't need to. And by the way, since then I've gained more. But you know what? But I'm going to say something, and it's very important for me to say. I think it's not so much being fat, being thin. I think whatever you do, if you come with a positive attitude towards yourself, if you love yourself, you can lose weight, you can gain weight. But if you're hating yourself, that's going to be difficult, because if you hate yourself and you're trying to lose weight. Then everything you're eating, you're going to hate yourself. If you say you love yourself, and then, okay, because I love myself, I'm going to not eat this. But then the other way as well. Like, now I'm loving myself, and I'm saying, oh, you're right.
I can eat this.
You bought some nice chocolates. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to go crazy. I say, whatever you do it with love. It's self-love. And then there's no right, wrong. There's no good, bad. It's not that thin people are happier or better. It's not that, you know, that's something which I actually have an issue with, that people are trying to always, you know, idolize thinness. And I'm saying, no, you know, like, whoa. We've got great bodies. Let's enjoy them. It's great food. Obviously, you know, to be healthy is important. And, you know, at some stage the weight was limiting my health. So that was a reason to lose. But not because it makes me any better. And that's one of my problems with society, that they do treat thin people as any better, beautiful. I know, which is bullshit. So that's a bit of my...
So now, to the women out there who, first of all, want to go to a foreign country and think, should I go to a foreign country? I mean, I think we've all had aspirations. I mean, at one stage, I love Japan, so I went to Japan. I love India, so I went to India. But they think, oh, I don't know if I can. I don't know how I'll manage. To me, it's getting yourself out of your comfort zone is so important. How important do you think that is for other women to do? You know, you could just stay like a Japanese person in their same house and their same job for your whole life and be happy with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to the person who thinks, you know, I only have one life and I've got to give it my best shot, what would you say to those women out there?
First of all, again, I don't come from a place where, you know, you shouldn't, you know, everybody has to, I think that for me, for many years, I remember I had a sentence saying that my home is where my family is.
Yes.
So it can be Japan, it can be South Africa, it can be Timbuktu, you know, it doesn't really matter for me where physically I'm living. If I'm with the people that I love, that's what makes the place, you know. So, and again, I think that if I stay true to myself and to what, you know, I enjoy, I like, you know, that I don't see foreign land as any barrier. Because I'm bringing myself, and if I know myself, I'm not foreign to myself. So if I'm bringing myself, then I am there, you know, the same person. So even the surrounding is different. You know, my interaction with people, it's who I am. So it's not about, you know, the environment, which my son would argue very much about. It's about, you know, where I am coming from, and if I come with confidence or love or a place of acceptance, then I can be anywhere. That's my own take on things.
Absolutely. Now, two women who you started a business in Japan teaching English, and then when that fizzled out over COVID, you started a new one, tour guiding, which is
the best ever.
Yes. And so a lot of women are afraid to do that. They think, I'll just stay in my comfort zone and I won't put myself out there in case I fail. But you went into it saying, I'm going to do this anyway. And it worked both times. So to women who are out there who are wanting to, say, start a business, and yours are so diversified from teaching English to tour guiding, what would you say to them, and how did you get over your own sort of fear that you wouldn't make a success of it?
So then again, it's not like unfortunately, I'm not a person who makes plans and then follows the plans and, have like a 5-year plan and I'm going to do this. And it's always been, again, true to myself and knowing what I'm feeling like doing now. And the English came very naturally because, suddenly my son was in 3rd grade and the other mom said, won't you teach our kids? And it's like, oh my God, yeah, let's take that as a chance. And it just happened.
Yeah.
And then climbing the mountain, And then there was this guy who was a tour guide and he said to me, you should go into it. And I said, oh my God, but I don't know anything about the history or the religion, all I know is my life. And then he said, whatever you know is 100% more than tourists.
Yeah.
And then I just went and read a bunch of things, taught myself. But then I realized I'm bringing myself.
Yes.
And I have a world of knowledge, about living 30 years, being a mom, married to a Japanese person, so I have the tools. So again, it's not so much looking at it as, let's start a business.
Yes.
It's just doing what is right for me. And what I think what's more important for me than starting a business is just always being in tune with yourself and seeing where I am in life and not being stuck in something that I've been doing for 30 years just because 30 years ago that was right for me, then I should be continuing. It's being able to evolve and change. And it's not just work, anything. Your life is always evolving. And I'm saying, I'm open to life because I am myself, taking myself through it. I'm changing and therefore my life will change. My interests change and, my communication change. Everything is changing and I'm accepting myself. Not necessarily to the satisfactions of others. But I feel that, I have one life to live.
Yes.
And I want this life to be the life that I'm choosing to live and not a life that has kind of fallen on to me or that I've chose once and I'm just finding myself still doing the same thing over and over because that's what I know to do. Again, if that gives me pleasure, then I will do it. But when it stops, then, it's time to reevaluate and say, okay, so what? I'm a person who really wants to have fun and enjoy life. I don't just want to
You don't just
live.
want to exist. I think that's the whole thing. You don't want to exist. You really want to go out and live this life because you only have one. So you've got to give it your best shot.
And, maybe there's a second life, the next life.
You never know.
We never know. But the one that I'm living now is the one that I'm choosing to be in it. And, and I don't use the word control, even though that the word came to mind, because I'm not a person who's controlling. But it is, the life that I am choosing. And
But with all this, you've maintained a positive attitude. So, depression is now really becoming a major, major problem in the world. And I've never been depressed, and I believe that being depressed is just stress and fear is false evidence appearing real. What is your take on women who start to think, and I don't know why people get depressed, but they do. How do you deal with that sort of situation? When you see things are down and you're sort of feeling down, how do you perk yourself up? What is your motivation?
Yeah, I'm not very good at being down. That way, no, because in a way, I feel it's one of my problems that I don't know how to be down because I'm always going to lift myself up. I always look for the light, and I don't know how to live with pain. And I did suffer pain, once, and it was terrible for me. And I put myself through therapy to get through it. And I think it's a really good thing. I'm really glad that I did that. But I'm a person who will. Again, I don't think it's necessarily a positive thing, but I will force myself out of a place which is not a comfortable place in order to live my jolly, happy, positive life. But maybe that's one of my problems that I don't know how to
I don't know
deal with, issues.
I never want to be that way, so I never put myself in a situation where I can be
I think I don't know how to. I don't know how to be in a pain and it's like sometimes just put my head in the ground and wait for the problems to pass. Everything is fine again. I don't know.
But I think if a woman does get to that stage, and I know I got to that stage where somebody did me down, and business, and I wouldn't forgive him, and I really couldn't forgive him. And then eventually I went to therapy because I knew I had to forgive him, because I was, if you bear someone a grudge, it's like carrying a hot coal. The only one who burn is yourself. So so I did go to therapy for that, and I did forgive him, and it did change my life. So that's amazing. When you're in that stage, what prompted you to say, I need to get help?
First of all, my mom always said something really clever to me, because I've got a very clever mom. She says that when you go through a breakdown, you're breaking down things that are you don't need, and that gives you a chance to grow.
Okay.
And when I was at the lowest, I knew that this is a gift that I'm getting.
Yes.
That this is a chance for me to grow.
Yes.
And to rid myself of something that's not doing me good.
Yes.
And be it a person, be it a situation, and or be it a thought. You know that, and that actually. Not just even while I was going through the process, I knew that this is a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
It's a gift that I've received that is going to help me grow better and take myself on a new road, or So I, even when I was in the lowest of the lowest, I knew that this is good. And I didn't know how to feel good again. I didn't know how to get out of it, but I knew that this is happening for a reason, and I'm going to grow out of it. And I'm gonna, how can I say, surrender to this situation. And I did, eventually, grow. So again, my positive attitude is coloring everything pink, but it does help in life for you.
It really does, And I think if you can see what you want at the end of the and I think a lot of people don't get what they want because they don't know what they want. And I think, to me, the most important thing is to know what you want. And if you want just to have fun in life and you're just going to do that, you have to decide, and like everything else, it's a decision. So you decided that you wanted to lose weight. You decided that you were going to make the change. You make these amazing decisions. But to the women out there who battle with that, what are you going to say to them?
First of all, just love yourself as is. I think the first thing, before you're trying to change, before you're trying to make decisions, just love who you are and know that who you are as is good. And because you love yourself, then you can have the changes. It's because if you're hating yourself, then you can't, then if she's speaking about weight loss, you start eating and then it makes you hate yourself more because I'm eating so much, and then you get hungry and then you hate it. It's like, I don't see anything positive about coming to a place from self-hatred. I think the first and most important thing that you ought to give yourself is self-love. And from there, the sky's the limit. And I don't know that, you don't always have to have a direction because things will change, But if you're with yourself and saying, this is who I am, and I love myself for being who I am, then you will always, and I've always said, I'm always in the right place for myself. I'm always in the right place. And I'm the kind of person who first shoots the arrow and then puts the target around it. Because I know it's like, I don't know why, but I'm in the right place. And then I'll figure it out and I'll have to just, draw the target.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, because then you're always in the right place. I'm shooting and then, okay, look, that's exactly the.
So I always believe that your true wealth is in your children, because you can be the wealthiest person in the world, but if you're lonely and you have nobody, that's not. So talk to me about how important it is to have your children and to bring them up to be really good people, and that is your true wealth at the end of the day.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I must say, first of all, when my children were born, and this is also, I think, a very Japanese way of thinking, I felt they were part of my body. I didn't put them, well, the first child I did, because then I was with a different mind frame. But, from my second child, as she was born, and as far as I was concerned, she was part of my body. And I slept with her. I nursed her for years and years.
I remember that.
And she stayed at home until she was 4. And then the next kids who came the same way. And people say, like you gave up your life for being a mom. And I said, no, that was me. My mothering was my own definition at the time. And I loved it. And I mean, obviously I went through really difficult struggles and it was not always easy, but that was who I was. But I'm going to say something else. That as my kids grew, and I was very much involved, mom, and I was, even when I started teaching English, it was always around my kids' schedules, and I made sure to go to all the soccer games and basketball games or whatever. And I was there because that was who I was, and through my kids, I was experiencing myself, and I think it was great because it gave me so much satisfaction. But then at some stage, these kids grow up and they get their own life, and then I'm looking at myself and I go, what now? And then I discover there's a very important person out there, and it's myself.
Yes.
And then I put myself in the center.
Yes.
And I don't regret, and I don't apologize for it, because suddenly I became the important person in my life.
Yeah.
And then, and my kids kind of sometimes complained, like, wait, where's
What
the
about
mom?
me?
Yeah. And I mean, I still, my kids for me are always, if they need, I'm there, But my life now is not dependent on my kids.
Yeah.
And I know I've got friends, and I say to them, I wish you were my mom, because they are like, will always sacrifice everything for their kids and be there for the kids in every way. And I'd say, wow, what an amazing thing to have a mom like that. But I don't know how to be that way, because I have now found like my own life, which is unrelated to my kids, and I refuse to deny it or to ignore it.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think it contradicts my mothering,
Yeah.
but it's become a very important part.
I think a lot of people, when the kids grow up and leave, they suddenly have to find themselves again.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, that's when they go through the depression and all the things that they can't cope
Yeah.
with, because they just don't know how to cope with that. So to a woman now whose kids are grown up, they've got their own lives, so that's one of the reasons I went to America, because my kids got their own lives, my grandchildren have got their own lives. And I think you have to live your life to the fullest. What are you going to say to this woman out there?
This is a time to celebrate. Come on, you go to all the freedom in the life,
Yeah.
I mean, like for me, it's like suddenly, having to put myself as the first person to consider.
Yeah.
Again, I wanted to
It's,
go
it's
back.
very foreign to women to do that.
Wow,
Yes.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I want to say that even when I was a full-time mom and that was all I was, I never felt I was doing it for the kids. It was always for myself.
Oh, really?
But the kids were part of me.
Yeah.
So being a mom was my calling, not
Yeah.
because it's the right thing for the kids.
Yeah.
I've never been able to put anyone else above myself. I've
Yeah.
always, but my kids were part of me, and being a mother for my children
Yeah.
was what made me feel myself.
Yes.
And then when the kids grow up, and then I don't have the kids, and then it's myself, it gave me this freedom.
Yes.
And I'm saying hallelujah. Because I think there's so much to enjoy. Life is amazing, and so much of it can only be done once you don't have the kids that need you. I mean, again, I've got 4 kids and 4 very different kids, and I want to hope, you can ask my daughters who's here, that I'm there for each one of them in their own way. And I know they have complaints about me, and that's fine, because that's their own life. And I'm not trying to say that I'm a perfect mom. I'm very, very far from that. But I am saying that being a mom is not the only thing that I am doing.
I think a lot of people lose themselves in this whole bring up the children thing, and then to actually find yourself again, and like you sort of new career. I think that is just amazing. Samantha, to the women out there who really have to go and find themselves, what are you going to say to them? Because it's not a normal thing as for a woman. You're always putting, your husband first, the children first, everybody else first. Now suddenly you are the center of your universe, and you have to get out there and make it happen. You can't blame I can't do this because of the kids. I can't do this because of my husband. You have no one to blame anymore. You only have yourself. What are you going to say to this woman? How are they going to get themselves out there?
Well, first I'm going to say to you that you're using very negative words, and it's not blame. It's like, wow, you're getting a gift. It's life is a gift, right?
Yeah.
And it gives you presents all the time.
Yes.
But we don't always know to translate it as a gift. You just look at things, and you can say, oh my God, this is so difficult. Oh my God, I'm lonely. Oh my God, my kids are this. Oh, my husband. But like saying, oh, great.
Yes.
It's just translating it into a positive way and realizing that you don't stop getting these gifts, or maybe you're giving yourself the gift.
Yes.
But I just say, I mean, I don't think you can change people to start thinking positively if they're not used to it.
Yeah.
But my wish is for people to try and take anything and everything that's given to you and just see the positive aspect, because obviously you can come and see, oh my God, this is tough and this is blah, 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 blah. But you can also say, wow, lucky me. And what is lucky about it? So that's going back to the fact that maybe I don't know how to live with
Yeah,
the
but I
pain.
think the thing you said, which to me was the most important, was when you get a problem, you actually peel the bits off, because these are the bits that you don't need of your life,
Right.
and then the positive bit grows out the middle.
Yeah. No, and and okay, another thing I'm going to say, maybe two things, is first of all, with regard to children,
Yeah,
one of the best things I realized in life is that your kids are always going to be your kids, so there's always a chance to grow and to fix things, and it's like a relationship that's going to last your lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes as a mom, I had difficult time, and I'm saying, okay, but this doesn't define, it's just a period, and it can be better. So looking at everything as a chance, there's always a place to grow and to make positive things, especially as a mom. And the other thing I forgot.
What?
I don't remember what was going to say. The other thing I was going to say. Yeah, my mom is going through dementia, and it's not easy to see her, going through this difficulty. But she taught me so many things, and I think that's one thing that now it's come to my mind, and I'm going to say it, that her years have left the mark on me, and even though things are now changing, everything she's given me continues growing.
Yes.
So maybe there's some deterioration, but what her legacy, whatever she gave, goes on. So then your life has a meaning even when you get old, because giving your kids, and I know that my mom,
living with dementia is difficult, and it's very hard to see, and harder for the person who's going through it.
Exactly, it's very.
But I think it's something that we have to, and you just have to embrace it and run with it, and just that's life. That's what life is all about.
Right.
Thank you so much for being on the show with me. It's been amazing. And and just carry on being yourself. But just going forward, being a tour guide, I mean, it must be so exciting.
Oh my God, that's the best job I've had thus far, except for Mom. I'm enjoying it. I have a chance to tell my Japan story to people who come for the first time or a few times to Japan. And
you must meet amazing people coming out there.
Yes, and every single day I've got different people to guide, and through guiding people about Japan, I'm learning about Japan. I learn about myself.
Yes,
one of the best jobs ever. And my niece is also going to be a guide. So
well,
if you want to be a guide, I highly recommend it.
Well, there you go, girls. Life is full of surprises. You can change your direction from being a mom to being an English teacher to being a tour guide to whatever is going to be next. How do you see yourself going forward?
Well, you see, that's the good thing about me. I don't think about forward. I'm thinking like now. We're going to finish this and we're going to go and have a nice breakfast. That's what I'm looking forward to, my breakfast. But no, I'm serious, because I don't make plans. I don't know how to look forward. And that's why I'm always, where I am right now is the right place. Remember with the arrow?
In the now.
In the now. We are very, very much here and now. And life will change, and I will be able to change with it, because I have no plans. Then if you make a plan, then you have to change and break and blah, blah. But if you have no plan, then life is open.
Oh, wow.
And that's for you, Margaret.
So there you go, girls. I hope you've enjoyed our chat today. If you liked it, please subscribe, follow us, and then I've got another exciting lady to interview next week as well. So see you there. Thank you. Bye-bye.